Hello and welcome back to another episode of Retro Alliance Gaming. Today I want to talk about a subject that I find to be incredibly frustrating. I actually previously made this video, and then after recording it, I found out it wasn't being recorded at all. My brother-in-law forgot to press the little record button. Might be a good idea if I get a mount at some point soon. But here, my motivation for this video has to do with modern gaming versus older gaming. And what I mean is this. So I'm going to show you quite a few games that I have that I love. Let's start out with Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight, right? Amazing game. This one's from Japan. Beautiful 2D graphics. Absolutely awesome. My god. Marvel versus Capcom 2. Everybody knows very famously a beautiful arcade port to the Dreamcast, really quite perfect. What else do we have here? We have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which, if any of you guys know, it's actually based on an anime manga, and fantastic fighting game. Guilty Gear X. Now, you want to know what every single one of these games have in common? Well, other than the fact that they are fighting games, and other than the fact that they all say Capcom on top of them, the one thing that these games have in common is that I can play them whenever the hell I want to play them. What I mean is, at the time that this game came out, I'd pay, around $50 for this game. There was no DLCs. I mean, they had basic DLCs for like VMUs on the Dreamcast, and I mean basic, but these games had to be finished, and that was a good and bad thing sometimes. Sometimes on rare occasions you would get some broken games or glitches that really couldn't be fixed, but that motivated all of the developers to make sure that they had a fully finished product before they sent it out, and they better have it that way because you're going to spend $50 to $60 of your hard-earned money to purchase a game. You expect it to be finished, right? This is how it works. This is how every single game that I have here works. I've been collecting for quite a long period of time, and I will have these games for generations to enjoy and to be able to show other people, my kids, everything. And this is where I get into my next topic of conversation that's frustrating, and there's a few reasons why. Modern gaming. Okay, here we go. Street Fighter. Now, I'm not blaming this particular game or this particular publisher, but it's an example that actually motivated me to make this video today. So, I was very excited to pick up the new Street Fighter game, okay? Like, wow. Graphically, it's beautiful. Everything about this game screams beautiful. And I remember Capcom specifically said that they were not going to make a ton of iterations of this one. Because if you notice, the prior Street Fighter game, I can't even count how many alliterations they had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they kept adding and adding and adding when really everybody just wants a full game. You could add DLC later for some extra content, sure, but start out with the full game, right? They said this isn't going to happen this time. This time you're going to get Street Fighter and we're going to give you all the content free. You're paying one price, $60, you're done. Sounds like a great idea. But I found out that when they released the game, it wasn't even finished. They barely had a one-player mode at all, and the online mode that they even had was broken. Now, the biggest pet peeve I have about this whole situation is that what is the one thing that every Street Fighter game has, and probably 90% of all fighting games have? A fucking arcade mode. I have never played a Street Fighter game that did not have an arcade mode. I think even Street Fighter, the movie, the game, the shit thing they made, had an arcade mode. Okay, back in the day, I remember I used to ask my dad for quarters. This was like 91, 1992, and I would go to the arcade, line up, pop in the quarters, and get to playing. And then companies came up with this brilliant idea. Well, we should bring the arcade home, and that's when we started getting handhelds and different versions of this, and you could actually sit at home in the comfort of your living room and play these video games. You always have an arcade mode. They actually released this game with, again, no arcade mode. I can't get over that. That is absolutely ridiculous. I know I'm normally this happy guy talking about all the games and things I love, but this is fucked up, okay? This is just unacceptable. And I'm going to name a lot of reasons why. Now, there's a lot of people that will argue with me saying, well, we got the game a little bit faster, and they're going to keep updating it, and eventually we're going to have this full game, and it's amazing, blah, 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 da, da, da. Okay, the version they released is like a fucking beta for it, okay? Somebody unknowingly walks into a store, and they take $60 of their hard-earned money because they want to play this awesome fighting game, and they get home and figure out, wait a minute, I can't even play a one-player arcade mode. And then you go online, and it doesn't even work properly. And then they have like these little bitty story parts that you can play, and that's about all. Mind you, we were promised everything. I don't care whether they had story mode and all that extra hoopla, but at the very least, I wanted a fucking arcade mode. Now, here's where the problem occurs. There's three separate dynamics to modern gaming, okay? One, online-only games, okay? Now, I bought Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast. The thing is, that had a one-player mode. It wasn't very robust, but you could play the game offline. Mainly, it was an online game. Eventually, Sega shut down the servers. Now, lucky for Dreamcast fans, there are private servers. You can actually, right now, if you have a broadband adapter for your Dreamcast, which they made, you could actually get up and play that game still online till this day. I wholeheartedly believe that any game should have a one-player mode, and then they could have a very strong online mode, but that you should always be able to play it offline. But if the developer says, hey, this is an online-only game, and you want to buy it, perfectly fine. You know what you're in for, right? I'm not going to buy it, but then again, I'm not going to judge. You pay $60 and you buy one of these games, maybe you play them for 500 or 1,000 hours, you got your money's worth. Now, the thing that sucks is when the servers shut down and they move on to new systems, your game's obsolete. You can no longer play it. That's where my problem comes in and why I won't buy those games, but I understand those games and I get the fact that people will buy those. This is again where my issue is coming into play. So me and her are planning on having a kid. And when we have a kid, one thing I always said and we talked about is I want to let my kid experience all these games and where they came from. I'm not just going to throw them on some modern PC or just hop on Minecraft or any other thing. I want them to see where video games started. I want them to, be able to experience them all the way through. I figure I started them out with Nintendo and Sega Master System, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Sega CD, PlayStation, Saturn, Dreamcast, you name it, building all the way up. And the great thing is, all of these games I bought, every single thing that's sitting right here, I can share them with my child. I could share them with my friends. I could share them with my girl, which I am right now. We just played, what's it called? Dynamite Cop. We just did a video. You can go check it out if you want to. It's a playthrough of it with commentary. And she never experienced the game, and she was actually able to sit down with me and have fun. And this is part of the experience that makes it, awesome with collecting games. Problem again, going back to Street Fighter. The game is not finished, okay? Eventually they're going to finish it and they're going to update it. And once it's updated, you're going to have a full game. Well, that's all well and good, right? Think about this. Number one, I have to download every one of those patches and DLCs to get that game to the point where it's full. Which means if I want to keep the full copy of that game, I can never erase it. I literally will have to keep hard drive after hard drive of games filling up because, PS4 and Xbox, even though I own a PS4 and I love it, they decided you got to mandatory install all these games, and if not, you can't play them. And unfortunately, The Witcher is taking up about 63 gigs of my 500 hard drive right now. I'm just going to have like a billion hard drives to do so. Now, That's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to keep every update in every game I have installed like that. Now, think about this. If we have a kid in the future, 10 years from now, 12, 13, whatever, he wants to check out the older PS4 because we're at, what, PS 7.5 now, or whatever the hell they're going to end up calling it. And Xbox, you gotta love that one. I don't know what the next Xbox is going to be called, right? Xbox 2? Or are they going to go to like Xbox 59? Let's just make it more confusing. But
Xbox Pi.
Yeah, Xbox Pi. That should be the next title. Yeah, that's good. So the thing is, say he goes to Goodwill. I go to Goodwill. I pick up an older system. I see a Dreamcast. Hell yeah. I see a PS2, Xbox. I pick him up. I restore him. He's like, oh, cool. Look at this old PS4 system that my parents used to have. And he grabs that PS4 and he's looking for games and he buys Street Fighter. He's like, oh, I've heard all these amazing things. This game looks so cool, right? Sees all these videos. Guess what? The networks are down. They're no longer there. Sony has moved on. It's not being supported. You know what that means? It's offline. So when he puts in that disc, it's not going to update. It's not going to give him any more content, and it's also not going to fix any glitches. So all of these developers who are basically being lazy, and I'm not going to blame just the developers, maybe developers, publishers, Sony, any of these companies that are maybe pushing them to put out the game faster, they need to slow the fuck down and let them take their time to do so, because he's going to put in that Street Fighter game, and it will not be the same one that he is seeing online. What you're going to get is the game that you bought out the store day one. The only data that was on that disc day one is basically broken. It is just a very bare Street Fighter game with no arcade mode and nothing else. That's what you own, unless they decide to give it to you through DLC. So therefore, you kind of really don't own it. That sucks. And so this means in the future, every game that's unfinished will be unfinished permanently. All of these other games that come out that they push out that are all glitched up, and then they're like, oh, no big deal, one patch and the thing's fixed. Well, guess what? When all these networks are down and you go to play them, they will be broken. There will be problems. And I cannot get past this. And this is the reason why I have not supported the new Street Fighter game. Nor do I want to support any game like that that's unfinished whatsoever. I understand there will be glitches and there will be things that need to be fixed. It's modern gaming, it's complicated. I understand that, okay? And like I said, I understand the whole online game thing. People know what they're getting into. I just won't be buying those, but I get it. But this, a Street Fighter game, give me a fucking break, seriously. Something with this needs to change, because you may look at my collection or maybe your collection and you know that's going to last you for a lifetime. You can hand it down to your children. But guess what? Current people who are just, collecting new games, one day when all those servers are down, half of their collection isn't even going to be the game. It's just going to be half the freaking game with nothing on it and nothing for people to play but a bunch of crap that they spit at you because they had to put it out early and make a deadline. Sorry, that's not the consumer's fault. When the consumer buys a game full price, that's what they should be getting. Street Fighter should be $20 right now. That's how much the game should cost. It's $20 for how early they put it out. Anyways, that's pretty much what my rant is. I'm scared for the future of gaming. I'm scared of what they're going to be doing and what we're going to be getting, because I don't like digital content. I like physical media. I have to be holding it in my hands, and I'm just afraid that one day have a whole collection of games that aren't going to work properly because you can't update them, and that's pretty much what I feel is going to end up happening. So I just thought I would toss that out there. Maybe you guys have some comments or concerns, or maybe there's something that I'm not thinking right now that you might go ahead and put forth that I wasn't thinking about. But look, if you have any questions, comments for anybody who cares enough to be watching this, please go ahead and comment down below. I am more than happy to reply back, and please do. Other than that, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Let you know that soon we are going to be doing a pre-E3 video, kind of talking about what we're hoping for, and also a post-E3 video seeing what we got. I don't see any possible way for us to top last year's E3 with Shenmue 3 being announced and remake of Final Fantasy and pretty much everything else under the sun, but you never know what they might have up their sleeve. Sega, maybe you can do PSO2 finally give it to us in America, or like Shenmue 1 and 2 HD. That would be awesome. Anyways, alrighty guys, thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.